Hi, my name is Mo Solanki. I'm a pharmacist and business strategist based in Brisbane, and today I'm joined by my lovely wife Natasha.
Hi everyone.
Natasha and I are going to be having a chat today on, I guess, the pregnancy journey leading up or even before we fell pregnant, because today marks the Pregnancy and Infant Loss Remembrance Day. And before, I guess, we even became pregnant or trying to become pregnant, I'd never come across what this day even meant, or even the organization behind it, which is SANDS in Australia. So SANDS are an organization that help thousands of people every year who experience infant loss, whether it's stillbirth, miscarriage, or even death soon after birth as well, so newborn death as well. And this organization is a fantastic organization, and I'm going to pop a link below as well. But as you can see on their website that I'm showing you right now, there's a lot of information that's covered on here, so feel free to check them out. They've also got an amazing hotline as well, staffed by hundreds of volunteers. So definitely, if you are in need of support, particularly during this difficult time, definitely reach out to them as well. But of course, this is what we're here to do, is to start creating a community and to start normalizing these conversations as well. So feel free to comment in the comments section below as well. We'd love to hear from you, but that's enough about me talking. I'm going to start opening up the discussion with Natasha, because Natasha, just give us a little bit of a rundown, I guess, why I guess today, being October the 15th, being Pregnancy and Infant Loss Remembrance Day, I guess has a special place in our hearts. Now, before I actually open that question up to Natasha, you'll notice here I said ow. Now, a lot of the content around this in the journey is, I guess, just about the mother, you know, and what we're trying to do, and this is why I'm speaking as well and getting involved in this, is that often the male in the relationship, or the partner in the relationship, doesn't get involved in these conversations, you know, whether it is a male or a female partner, doesn't get involved in these conversations when their other partner is going through these. So definitely take note. If you are a male watching this right now, I really applaud you for starting to take interest in this. If you are a female who has another partner and has gone through this themselves, definitely please feel free to just start sharing this content as well, because we're opening up discussions that couples can have together as well. So coming back to that question, Natasha, why is this day, I guess, so important? And just tell us a little bit about the backstory.
Yeah, so you know, we had a miscarriage last year, and again, you know, I say we because I know that although it was, you know, physically something that happened to me and that I went through, Samil was equally a part of that journey as well, you know, supporting me, but also it was a loss that he went through as well. And wanting to talk about it and let people know that it's okay to talk about it, because it was, yeah, it's emotional, it's mentally something quite challenging to get through as well. And leading up to that, so, you know, we had, as we mentioned in the last video, you know, we'd been trying for a number of years. We'd sort of recently started seeing a fertility specialist not long before that happened, and you know, kind of a little bit of context and you know, some of the things that I went through sort of leading up to what happened. I'd started taking, you know, certain medications to try help regulate my cycles.
So tell us a little bit about your medical history. Why was it a little bit of a challenge?
Yeah, so I have PCOS. Which is just polycystic ovarian syndrome. So it's I have a very mild version, but it still has a bit of an impact, you know, on a lifestyle and a lot of other things that that you have to manage with, you know, weight loss, weight gain. You know, there's a variety of different impacts that everyone is different and can deal with, and often that in itself, you know, it's hard to understand what the impact on getting pregnant or fertility is. And a lot of the early discussions that I had when I was diagnosed, I was, you know, 17, 18, didn't really think about what it would mean, or, you know, what I'd have to try set up for or be prepared for when trying to get pregnant. So the only question I asked was, you know, can I still fall pregnant? And, you know, the answer is yes, it is. But, you know, the further discussion behind, you know, what you might be able to have to do or think about it, it's not just a case of coming off your medications. You know, I was on the pill, metformin, just to help regulate my sugar and insulin as well. it doesn't mean you're instantly going to fall pregnant. So coming off that, it was a little bit of a journey and a learning curve for me as well, which, you were a big part of trying to help me understand sort of why things weren't instantly going back to normal. My cycles didn't come back regularly for a good year or so, which did make kind of working out when we were meant to be trying and how, and just the whole process of it really challenging, which was mentally for me a little bit stressful because I wasn't sure if it was things that I'd done wrong or that I should have started taking steps earlier to prepare to help us at the time when we decided that we wanted to start falling pregnant and actually start a family. So that's sort of the journey kind of leading up to, it was about 2 years before we'd been trying naturally for a while. We'd been seeing our GP who'd helped us out with, some medications to help try regulate cycles and hadn't had successful results yet. So we'd started seeing a fertility specialist. And, in my head as well, it sort of was, if you don't fall pregnant naturally, IVF is your only next option. I wasn't aware of kind of the myriad of things that you can try and other options in between to help you out that are a little bit less invasive, but at least options before having to necessarily jump to IVF if you're open to that and have the time to potentially want to try that. So
and we'll definitely explore that in future videos. So I guess, Natasha, tell me about, I guess, you mentioned going to a fertility specialist where we went to one, and just was referred by a GP, as Natasha mentioned, and then we went to the fertility specialist. Tell us about that experience, I guess, that short window of time, I guess those first sort of 12 weeks within seeing that fertility specialist.
So we went and saw our fertility specialist quite early, I think it was on like a Friday, and he pretty much just said to us, great, you don't have to go to IVF straight away. There are other options and things you can try, but you're actually at a great time in your cycle to pretty much go home and try and see what happens from there. And
so he did the scan, recognized that your ovaries were, I guess in a good position, right, to ovulate, and then we were coming into the window, I guess, of your ovulation cycle, and then to start trying, and then what happened after that?
And so, we obviously tried, and a few weeks later, I started bleeding. I assumed that this was just my period and my menstrual cycle. I was unaware at that stage that there was even a thing called pregnancy bleed. So it didn't register to me that it could have been anything else. It was a little bit longer than what I had expected, but I sort of thought I'd just put this down to the fact that we'd been, put on some new I'd been put on some new medication, and maybe this was just an impact of a couple of those things. So we'd also been given, sort of told that, if I didn't fall pregnant, to go get my tubes flushed. And kind of knowing that, or seeing that I was bleeding, I sort of assumed that I wasn't pregnant.
Sorry, just to hold you there, the reason for the tube flushing is to actually then increase, I guess, the chance for the egg to meet the sperm. In that process, just to clear the fallopian tubes. So that's the point of the tube flushing, to help, I guess, ensure that there are no obstructions there that can occur. So Natasha went down that process.
And part of that again is obviously they'll ask you, is there any chance that you could be pregnant? And again, not knowing that there was such a thing as pregnancy bleeds, I kind of just went, no, dismissed the question. Of course not. And went ahead and did that. And it was only subsequently when we went back to our fertility specialist, a week or two later, that he did a scan and sort of went, oh, actually, there's a little bit of a faint heartbeat here. Which we were, super surprised at. I thought I'd had my period, so I did not think there was any chance that I could have been pregnant. And also, it was just a bit of a shock because we kind of started this and, having started bleeding, sort of thought that, naturally it might not happen and we might need a little bit of more assistance and help through the journey. So the heartbeat was very faint. It was very small as well. And, very early on, he raised to us that it, while there was one, it didn't really look like it should, for kind of where, how far along I should have been.
It's about beating about half the rate. Normal. So essentially, the Bub's heart, at that stage, the beats are quite high, comparatively, about 150, should be about 150 to about 160 beats per minute, I believe. But we're sitting around the 80, 90 mark.
And so it was just a bit of something that we had to monitor to kind of see if it was going to be a viable pregnancy or not. But he set the expectation a little bit early on for us, sort of, knowing that it might not be. And also for us, it was a shock that we were pregnant, but we were also quite excited that we had managed to fall pregnant, because we didn't think it was, it might happen naturally and sort of the way it did. So we monitored the pregnancy for a couple of weeks. I think it was another 2 or 3 weeks that I had to keep going back for scans just to sort of see how everything was progressing, and the blood test to check all your levels to see if everything was increasing as expected with it. Unfortunately, a few weeks later, we couldn't really pick up the heartbeat at all. It was so faint, it was pretty much non-existent, and we were sort of just given the options then of sort of going, it really isn't viable and going to go to term. So we could either wait for sort of the pregnancy to relieve itself, which is, you don't do anything sort of invasive, and at some point you might just start bleeding out for the pregnancy to pass.
Yeah.
Or there's the surgical option, Curette, where, you get admitted to hospital and they effectively sort of, remove the pregnancy for you. So, for me personally, the Curette was sort of just, I preferred the option just to know that it was, I'd sort of dealt with it. The idea of, for me personally, again, and I know it's personal preference and everyone will have a view, but it was easier for me to mentally sort of define that point of when I knew it was, I could sort of start dealing with it and moving forward, rather than just the unknown of waiting for it to happen and sort of everything that came with that, and unsure of, what happened if it happened at work, or if I was at home, or, on the bus or something.
So Natasha, you mentioned, I guess, a little bit about the mental health component, I guess, of going through the Curette procedure. Could you tell us a little bit about that sort of, I guess, the toll it took on you mentally, but also physically as well? What was it like?
Yeah, so, I think mentally and physically it was quite challenging just to kind of come to terms with what had to happen, and, the procedure and what it involved. But essentially, it was really a day surgery, so you drop me off in the morning. They kind of do a sort of a mini interview just to make sure, you still understand what the procedure is, and get ready for it, and know sort of what you're getting into, and that you're still comfortable going ahead and doing with it. And we were quite fortunate that our fertility specialist we're seeing was the one doing the procedure. So, it was someone that I was comfortable with, and while there are always risks with doing these things, we sort of, I was very comfortable with them undergoing it, and a little bit kind of ease the nerves a little bit, kind of heading into surgery. So you're under anesthetic the whole time, so you don't really feel anything or any pain during the process, but effectively once you're in and you're under, they you sort of scrape or remove the pregnancy from within you, just to make sure it's it's all out. And sometimes you might have to go back to get if there's some left behind, but usually with the process they can effectively take out most of it, if not all of it. And there might be some residual bleeding once you come out and out of the anesthetic, so the nurses are always great, and they give you the necessary like pads and underwear and stuff, so when you wake up you're as comfortable as you can be, and help you make sure that you're feeling okay and you know what's happened. And there is a little bit of pain there for a little bit, but for me, I was fortunate it wasn't that too bad. They make sure you have something to eat and drink, and just start feeling okay. And there's a lot of emphasis with them on the mental side, like checking in that you're okay, that you understand what's happened. So I think sometimes after it's done can sometimes be when it hits you what's what you've really gone through, and where you're at now, and the fact that you have had this procedure and sort of lost the pregnancy. And it was great, and the nurses were fantastic, but they make sure that they sit down and sort of talk to you about it, and that you're in a good place mentally to actually leave and go home, because sometimes that can be the most challenging thing about it. And we were quite fortunate that it happened early on, but I can only imagine the toll and that emotional and the weight that it would take if you had to go through this at a much later state, when you'd had a few more of the scans and heartbeats and things that you'd heard, and formed a bit more of an attachment than we necessarily did, because it was a surprise for us. And I think it was really fantastic that they do place that emphasis on it, and really are there to help you out, to make sure you are okay before leaving, because it is such a big thing. Yep.
So I guess obviously it's a process. You mentioned day surgery, but there would have definitely been some other impacts, I guess, on your I know personally that the pain was maybe a few days and things like that. How was your experience, or how did you manage, I guess, leading up to it with work? Obviously, you know, you're a working lady as well. How did you manage that experience? And a lot of the people out there, you know, you're work. So how did that come about? What were those discussions like with your employer?
I was or am very fortunate that where I work and my managers and team that I have are incredibly supportive and open, and it's a safe environment that I was actually felt comfortable talking to people, particularly my manager, about what we were going through, what needed to happen with the procedure, and taking time off to actually accommodate that. And you know, that made the world of difference, not feeling like I had to hide it or that I was dealing with it alone. And work plays such a big part of your life that trying to, you know, deal with it just outside of working hours would have been incredibly difficult. And knowing that I could you know, have that support, and they were comfortable sort of going, we know what you need to go through, we've got your back, it's okay, really made a big difference in sort of, you know, if I wasn't having a good day, or, you know, leading up to it I was a bit nervous and sort of it was coming out, I could sort of just go, hey, not dealing with this very well today, and it was okay, and they'd be like, we've got your back, it's, you know, we're here for you to help you, we know it's a tough thing to go through. So I know I'm very fortunate in that respect compared to a lot of people that might not have that environment, but it definitely made the whole process, not only, you know, with the miscarriage, but the pregnancy in general, and specifically this, that little bit easier of not having to worry about that, and knowing that I didn't have to try and make up an excuse for why I needed the time out or justify it. It could sort of be like, this is what's happening, and really know that it was okay for me to take that time out and go through this.
So I think this is like an even more important point to raise now. Natasha's work environment has been critical to, I guess, support her mental health journey. Now we spend 8, 10, 12 hours, even some plus 12 hours a day at work. That's a considerable amount of time, you know, and especially if you're going through these challenges, to then not be, you know, not, I guess, be open and honest about, because at the end of the day, you're spending, you know, some people are spending over 50% of the day bottling up these pain points and these issues and these challenges that they're going through, you know. And like I said before, I don't like the word issues, you know, but at the end of the day, that term issues is a very, I guess, in my mind, is a very negative term, you know. It is used by people that don't understand or don't empathize or don't relate to, I guess, the challenges that people go through. As an employer, and then this is my shout out to the organizations out there, as an employer, it is essential that you are creating a safe and nurturing environment to have these discussions, you know, whether or not it's with you directly or if it's with other people within your organization, that at least there's someone there that people like Natasha can actually have a chat to, an open and honest discussion chat with. And like I said, it's not only that she's been fortunate that her employer and her managers have been so supportive of her journey. I myself am very, very grateful that she's in an environment where I know that she is getting the positive attention that she needs and that nurturing environment that she needs as well. Because for me, that's everything. Is at the end of the day, if I'm not seeing Natasha for at least half the day, then I know that she's still in an environment that is taking care of her mental health, her mental health and well-being, but also then going on the journey with her and supporting her through the journey. And that's the critical word here, is to be supportive. A lot of employees out there, particularly even in the health industry themselves, that know these things, are very, very pessimistic of it. They frown at pregnancy. The journey just becomes too hard to manage. And of course, there's some challenges managing, I guess, flexible work arrangements in a smaller organization that you see in the health industry. But there's always a way. If you're creating a culture that fosters that positivity, then it will work out. It will work out. And then you will also be known as the organization that creates these environments. That creates these environments, not just to encourage people to come there and just fall pregnant and then go on mat leave. No. But it's also then for their partners as well. But it's also for your communities as well. Because at the end of the day, whatever you're doing within your own organization, you can then translate to your community as well. And that's, I guess, a big part of what we've started now as well, is, I guess, taking lessons from her managers and her colleagues that she works with, and how open and honest they are about that, and even their own journeys as well, it means a lot. It means a lot to, I guess, have that work connection, and that's a critical element. So I definitely wanted to spend a little bit of time on that as well. So thank you, Natasha, for exploring that with me, and and then thank you to her colleagues, from the bottom of my heart. And I hope for you watching out there as well that you can relate to these stories. But if you can relate to the opposite side as well, feel free to share those experiences as well, and how it made you feel. Like I said, this is a safe space, but the point of sharing these stories is to get it out there and to create meaningful change in our society where these aren't taboo topics. These are normal topics to be held not only in the private home space, but in the public space, in the workspace as well, amongst friends, amongst family, and that's and amongst colleagues. And that's the whole point, because at the end of the day, by normalizing these conversations across all aspects of our lives, we can then create better health outcomes for the long term. And a lot of the time as well, like there's a lot of evidence out there is that, these sort of events that occur in our life are largely due to stresses. And stresses, and one of the biggest stresses in our lives is our work environment, is our work environment. So that's a major contributing factor. And by having, and I would attribute, the journey that we've been on, and the fact that we're now 21 weeks pregnant with a healthy baby girl inside of Natasha, is a big role of that is the safe and supportive environment that she has, I guess, in all aspects of her life. And for us, I think that's the most important. So I guess in terms of wrapping up, what is, I guess, if there was one takeaway or one piece of advice that you could give to a mother out there that is going through this, what would it be?
Honestly, it would just be trying to find someone or that safe space to talk to. There's a variety of, SANS organisations, counsellors out there as well. If you don't feel comfortable having that conversation, within your inner circle or partner or family, because sometimes that can be harder than talking to a stranger about it, because you might feel a little bit more judged, or, how they're going to perceive it, or, the support that you might get from it. But honestly, it's really, for me, I think the most important thing is to talk about it, that safe space. And again, like Samil said, we want to try and create that here. So even if it's reaching out to us, we just want to be there to help make sure that people do feel safe and open to be able to talk about it, and help them on the journey to not bottling it up. And that can often, perpetuate the cycle of the challenges that come falling pregnant after that by holding on to it. So it's really, for me, just finding that person or that place that you're comfortable with, and sharing and starting to offload, and knowing that there are people there that are willing to go on this journey with you to help you.
And I think I'm going to add a little bit to that, because it's, I guess that was, mother to mother, and what I want to do is extend that call out, because if you are the partner in that relationship as well, and you're kind of not knowing how to navigate these things, because a lot of people just go, whoa, that's all her, that's all on her. I'm stepping out of this equation. This is why, I guess you'll see this content, I guess, on, as part of my channel, is that because what we're aiming to do is to also empower the partners in that. There's a lot of content out there, the SANS organization, all that does amazing work for the mother as well, but they also do amazing work for the partners. And it's making sure that you're doing this, and I guess in our experience is that you're doing this collectively. You're doing this as a partnership. And we obviously understand that there's, there's people out there who don't have that support network because they might be going through a pregnancy alone, they might be going through these challenges alone. But my biggest thing to you is that you are never alone. You are never alone. Yes, you might be doing it by yourself, but you're never alone. And there's two very distinctive differences there. You might be, by yourself, but you're never alone. And so by focusing and ensuring that you're never alone, and this is the community, and SANS are out there, and you've got friends and other family out there, or they might not be friends or family. You might be in an environment that aren't supportive of that. Expand your network, reach out to other people. You don't have to sit within that community that you've created for yourself. There are other people out there that would happily put up their hand and go, let's just have a chat, and we're part of that, So I guess leaving you now, that's, I guess, everything that I really wanted to have a chat with Natasha with you today. Look, thank you so much for your time. Really, really appreciate it. We're about to head off to start our day now as well. But remember, today, October 15th, International Pregnancy and Infant Loss Remembrance Day. Check out SANS as well. They're the Australian organisation that help really support the areas of miscarriage, stillbirth, and newborn death. And just definitely do it with the support network. You don't have to reach out to them alone as well. You can have these conversations together. And when we really encourage that, because that means that everyone is on the same page. You're not navigating these challenges and hurdles alone. So Natasha, once again, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate your thoughts. And yeah, guys, please continue to follow our content. Please share this with people that you think would really benefit. And even if you don't think that there's anyone out there that will benefit, share it anyway. Because I'm sure that there will be someone that just hasn't put up their hand to talk about this that might resonate with, and you don't even know about it. So definitely share the content. Please like, subscribe, and click that little notification bell at the bottom as well so you stay up to date with what we're doing. Please also head to our Instagram page where you'll see a little bit more about behind the scenes things as we explore the journey of pregnancy as well, and we'll also be reliving some of the old stuff through there as well. And also be sure to follow us on Facebook, where you'll get even more health information and topics about that as well. So bye for now. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
And we'll chat with you very soon on the next video.
Have a good day.
Bye now.
Bye.